Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Phillies dropped another one last night. A sloppy performance by them, just embarrassing. And is there a good option to replace Joe Girardi if he's moved on from? I'll give you my thoughts on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I am your host, Connor Thomas. Happy to be here with you talking Philadelphia Phillies baseball. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I just want to tell you that today's episode is being presented by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. The Phils drop another one last night. Honestly, just an incomprehensible show of ineptableness. Is ineptableness a word? I don't know. The Phillies are so bad they're making me create new words in my head. I just don't understand what's wrong with this team. Well, I mean, I have an idea, but I don't understand how we got to this point with this team. They're a talented roster, and they just listen. Momentum's a big thing in baseball. Not so much in a game, right? Because you can lose momentum or gain momentum on one pitch. It's a lot more snap than basketball. Like basketball, you can't just hit a shot and all of a sudden the game's a totally different thing. Like you got to hit a series of shots. You got to go on a run. Hockey, a goal can change momentum, but you can't score two at once. You can't score three at once. And football, yeah, touchdown's big, but you can get those back. You can only score one touchdown. Like there's a maximum amount. Baseball's the only sport where you only score a handful of times a game, and you could score four times as much in one swing, obviously with a grand slam. So momentum in game is a little bit shiftier, and you could steal it back easier. What I'm talking about when I say momentum is game to game because it's the longest season. So in order to be good as a team, you need momentum to build off of previous performances. And that's where momentum affects baseball more than any other sport. Well, let's look at the timeline. The Phillies come out and they get a huge walk-off win on Sunday to knock off the Los Angeles Dodgers on a play Max Muncy should have made at second base. That outbone rolled over on a ball. They get one gifted to them. Huge momentum, awesome. They get on the plane down to Atlanta for 7 games in the division, a huge week. They come down, they take care of business against the Braves. They smoke them in game 1. They beat them 7-4. That's great. So you're feeling good. You've won 2. The Braves looked discombobulated. They had no idea what was going on defensively. A couple plays that should have been made by Atlanta that weren't, that led to the Phillies winning that one. And Zach Wheeler looked awesome. And you have momentum. And then you come out in game 2 of the series and you're down, and you're down, and you're down. And then the 9th inning comes up and Bryce Harper, he saves you. He hits a 2-run go-ahead shot. And now all you need is 3 outs to win. And they don't get it. And Joe Girardi screws his team over by keeping Nick Nelson in the game instead of going with a couple of better options that he just came up with reasons not to use, reasons that make sense to none of us besides whoever put together Joe Girardi's binder of analytics. And, well, just like that, momentum is gone. And you had it. Your players gave it to you, Joe. And they gave it to this organization. I don't want to put entirely everything on Joe Girardi because we'll talk about some shortcomings of players on this roster too. But a large part of it sits at the feet of the manager, taking away that momentum and opening the door to what happened last night when the Phillies lose 8-4 to the Atlanta Braves down there in Atlanta. Let's talk through the scoring plays. Odubel Herrera started things off in the top of the second with the first run scored of the game. The Phillies have scored first in every single one of these games so far. Herrera homered to right field, 431 feet, an absolute bomb, almost as far as what Bryce Harper hit in that go-ahead shot on, what was it, Tuesday night? Yeah, because today's Thursday, Tuesday night. And the Braves in the bottom of the second, well, they take advantage of Ranger Suarez Contreras homers to the left. Ozzie Albies singles to right center, scoring out of Duvall and Arcia. And then Dansby Swanson scores Albies on a single to shallow right field. And just like that, the Braves put up 4 in the bottom of the second. The Phils are behind the 8 ball and chasing. Well, then in the top of the fourth, Odubel Herrera reaches on an infield single to second, scoring Gene Segura. A nice hustle play there where Odubel was able to beat out the throw. JT Realmuto moves up to third, and it's 2-4 for the Philadelphia Phillies. Okay, well, they got a chance. And then in the top of the fifth, well, the Phillies come all the way back off Charlie Morton. Nick Castellanos grounds out the shortstop, but it turns into an RBI as Alec Bohm scores from third. Bryce Harper was on second, was able to run in front of the play at shortstop and get to third on what was a little bit of a choppier, slower rolling ball to shortstop. Good read by Harper. And then Gene Segura singles to right field, scoring Bryce Harper, tying the game up at 4. Brand new ball game there in the top of the fifth inning. So how do the Phillies respond? We talk about momentum. How does this team capture momentum? Well, on the bottom of the fifth, Dansby Swanson, I want to say his name right, is on first base. Tries to steal second. JT Realmuto makes an errant throw that gets by Bryson Stott, gets by Gene Segura, goes into center field, that Odubel Herrera inexplicably does not get in front of, tries to make some weird sprinting in play off of his left side and completely misses it. So a throw from the catcher goes by the shortstop, the second baseman, and the center fielder and rolls nearly to the wall as Dansby Swanson routes third, comes around, and scores from first on an attempted steal of second base. That is impossible at the major league level. That is mind-numbing. That is idiotic. That should never be allowed to happen. It's the sloppiest play the Phillies have had since, I don't know, earlier this year when they had a bunch of errors. We knew the defense was not going to be good, but that would be bad for a middle school team. You learn that stuff when you first start playing the game, and Odubel Herrera did not do it well. JT Realmuto made a bad throw. It was an all-around awful play. Most of it falls on Odubel Herrera, who at times has no idea what he's doing out there. He seems lost on a baseball field. He seems like a super talented baseball player's body has the mind of some guy who doesn't understand the sport. And maybe that's true. Maybe that is the case. But he looks lost sometimes at the plate, even though he can run into one and hit it 430 feet. His selection is terrible. His heads-upness in the field, we'll call it, his baseball IQ just seems bottom of the barrel to me. And it bit the Phillies in the you-know-what in this game against the Braves. It allowed Dansby Swanson to score. And then what do you want me to do here? Austin Riley hits a 410-foot bomb off of Jose Alvarado, who's supposed to not be able to give up home runs, according to a press conference Joe Girardi had last year, and why they like going to Alvarado. Well, just like that, it's 6-4 again as soon as the Phillies tie it back up. Then Bellotti comes in, gives up a home run to Dansby Swanson in the bottom of the sixth. It's 7-4. And Connor Brogdon in the bottom of the seventh gives up a double to Arcia, scoring Contreras and Duvall. And it's 8-4 Braves. That's how it would end. The Phillies would not score in the sixth, seventh, eighth, or ninth innings. Despite getting 11 hits, they only score 4 runs. They fall in the game. Let's talk really quick because I don't want to let anybody off the hook really on this one. Let's talk about Ranger Suarez, who went 4 1/3 inning pitch, 5 earned runs, 4 Ks, 4 walks. Here's the issue with Ranger Suarez, right? He's just the command doesn't look to be great. He still has some nice stuff, but he threw 88 pitches, 51 of them strikes. That's not a bad strike to ball ratio. Just when he misses in spots he shouldn't. It seems like a field thing for him right now. And is it because he had a short spring training? Is it the expectations of coming off of a year where he had incredible numbers and trying to replicate that? I don't know. I'm not ready to move Ranger Suarez out of the starting rotation yet. Not remotely close to that, because look at this bullpen, man. They stink. So people are like, oh, it'll help the bullpen if you put him out there. Yeah, but then who starts? You got nobody. Ranger Suarez continues to start for this team. He had a bad start. Next time out, maybe he'll have a good start. It's not out of the question that he rights the ship this year. Just a little bit troubling trends from Ranger Suarez, but the biggest issue is the attitude, the mentality, and the leadership of this team. And that all comes down to one, Joe Girardi. I don't know what more to say about it. I've already told you I'm done with Joe Girardi. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to bring in a manager. But I got a great tweet yesterday on an article I wrote for 97.5 The Fanatic. You can see that article. I retweeted it from Connor Thomas 975. Give it a read. Let me know your thoughts on my written word. As you hear my speaking word or watch me in video, take a listen or take a look at my article rather. Let's see what you think. But the great question was about the replacement I would have for Joe Girardi, because it's right. A lot of people want to fire people without bringing in a replacement or acknowledging that there may not be a good option. In the next segment, I'll tell you what the option is that I think, or the options, plural, that could be available to replace Joe Girardi if and when the Phillies do eventually move on from him. Yes, they are our title sponsor today. So let me tell you a little bit more about Rock Auto, who brings us this episode. There's an ever-increasing number of makes and models, so it's impossible for your local chain to carry all of the parts and pieces you need to do upkeep on your car, repairs, anything like that, fix issues. It's just not possible for the local store, brick and mortar. So what do you got to do? Well, go to rockauto.com. They have everything. You save time and money when using Rock Auto. I don't know why you choose to spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership. Rock Auto is great because, they don't just have like one warehouse. They have all the parts, all of them that are in existence that you need for your car, truck, everything like that to repair. And you think, okay, well, they're this big national conglomerate. I'm going to get price gouged. They don't get the little guy. Now, Rock Auto is a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer, and they have been in the entirety of the history of their company. They have everything you can need. Think about it, like brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. It's not just the necessities for under the hood or in the undercarriage. You could talk about the interior and get stuff done if you want to change things around there. It's great. So go explore their easy to use website today and you can find the solution to your auto needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure you write locked on in their how did you hear about us section so they know that I sent you in. And they've got an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, let's get into the Joe Girardi conversation. He gave me the opportunity to make another. It's been so much fun. Another just rip roaring fun Locked On Now. Now, don't judge Locked On Nows by my feeling towards them right now, because responding to these Phillies games every night is going to give me an aneurysm. But this is what we go through at Locked On. This is what our hosts go through across Major League Baseball who cover these teams to get you the best content. Sometimes, for me, when the team plays like this, when the Phillies play like this, it's like banging your head against the wall. But not all the teams in Major League Baseball are like this. Their teams having great seasons. Their teams with interesting prospects. And you want immediate reaction on those. Well, wins, losses, breaking news, all of those are reacted to on the Locked On Now podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts and highlights the breaking news, the wins, losses, everything I just listed there around Major League Baseball from our passionate hosts who are fans just like you. Check it out. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Now, the Joe Girardi conversation is an interesting one because I got brought up to me about, I wrote the article. Someone responded, hey, but Connor, there's so many people that, and I'm paraphrasing here. I'll pull up the tweet here in a second, but there's so many people who want change and they don't go with, they don't have a reasonable replacement. And it happens all the time. You're like, we see it in Philly. I'll just use an example. Fire Doc Rivers. Okay, well, who do you bring in? Fire Nick Sirianni. Okay, well, who do you hire? The Flyers already fired their coach and their interim coach. So that's not the best example, but basically what I'm saying is, and what this person was asking me, it's a question I've posed people before in the past. If you're going to move on from somebody, someone has to fill that role. I don't want what we had a caller call in today and say to 97.5 The Fanatic on the John Kincaid Show, where he suggested that they fire Joe Girardi and they make Bryce Harper interim player manager. No, we're not doing anything stupid like that. Let's live in the realm of reality. But here was my response to the question posed by the ITA Baseball Pod. Someone using their podcast account on Twitter to ask me this question. Here was my response, and I'll explain it a little bit further in the second segment. So I responded when asked who were some possible replacements or who did you have in mind? You've got to have someone in mind. Dusty Wathan, Kevin Long, Anthony Contreras, who's managing AAA Lehigh right now, Jimmy Rollins, who I say here is a complete nostalgia pick and admittedly won't work, but the fans would love it. There's no perfect option, but Girardi is clearly not the answer. I saw another great tweet. I believe it was either from Andrew Salchunas, who's on the middays over at 97.5, or it may have been Ricky Batalico. And I think it was actually Ricky. And I'll tell you about Ricky all the time. 1996 NL All-Star as a reliever, a longtime Philly, member of some of those favorite teams in the 1990s that we all loved growing up, or that rather the generation slightly before me loved growing up. But I share some of his thoughts, and it may have been him tweeting out that it's time to make a change just for change's sake. A lot of times, like, oh, well, why are you making the change? Are you doing it for a reason? Like, did the manager come up with a reason to get fired? Did that player come up with a reason to get traded? Like, is he hitting 0-50 at the plate, 0-50, or are you just looking at a guy batting 185 that's in a slump that you want to get rid of now without getting him a chance to work out of it? And this is not one of those times. Sometimes you got to just make a change to change the feeling of the team. Something is very wrong with a team that is in the luxury tax for the first time, has the fourth highest payroll in baseball, and has a lot of expectations on them. Something is very, very wrong. And we're a couple days from Memorial Day. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is Thursday, May 26th. We have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is Memorial Day. We're 3 days away. And that's normally the point of the season where you look at a team and you're like, okay, where are you? How much room do you have to make up? Is it possible to do so? And frankly, the Philadelphia Phillies are at a point where they need a drastic change to jumpstart this team. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a better manager. You've seen interim managers in other sports. Thinking the NHL playoffs a couple years ago where an interim manager comes in, wins the Stanley Cup with the team. Like, you've seen it happen. Sometimes guys just respond to different guys better. And in baseball, you're not running plays like in football. Like, they're not calling out an offense. Sometimes you call some first and third plays, some pickoff plays. You decide how you're calling pitches, stuff like that. But you can hand the calling of pitches over to JT Realmuto. You can handle first and third plays or steal plays or things like that, bunting, defenses. You can handle all of that in practice. Anyone who's managing or in a dugout, a major league dugout at this level, can handle it. I know how to run those as a coach, and I have never coached before, just from playing Division III baseball. So I know these guys are capable of doing it because they're much smarter than me. But sometimes you just have to make a change, even if it doesn't seem like a good option, to see if the mentality and the attitude of the team can shift. It's like a manager getting thrown out of a game. Sometimes it's not even worth arguing the call, but they just get thrown out to jumpstart the momentum. Well, sometimes you got to throw the manager out of the organization to jumpstart the momentum, and that's what I'm suggesting to be done with Joe Girardi at this time. Now, Dusty Wathan, bench coach there. He coaches the bases for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's been with the organization a long time. Coached in the minors. Someone tweeted at me, which I thought was funny. He'd have the highest Major League batting average of any manager in Major League Baseball this year, maybe in history ever. He was 3 for 5 in his career for a 600 average, only had 5 at-bats at the Major League level. But he could certainly go in, a guy that's familiar with this team. Kevin Long, the hitting coach, who has been credited with fixing a lot of swings, who has more experience than Caleb Cotham as a position coach, is probably my favorite option. If a position coach is to take over, an offensive-minded guy for an offensive-minded team, that could work. Anthony Contreras he's the next manager in line. He's managing AAA. You just bump all of these guys up a level. That's possible. And the Jimmy Rollins thing is far-fetched, but I put it in there to make the point. Like, it could literally just be a figurehead guy that everyone loves. They did it somewhat with Charlie Manuel when they brought him in to assist Gabe Kapler in his final year in Philadelphia 3 years ago, where it was like Charlie was not set to manage the team, but he's a guy that the players will trust, the fan base loves and will trust, and they know it'll get a section of the fan base up and excited about what could possibly happen. Like, these are the moves I'm talking about. But a change has to be made for change's sake, and I'm frankly tired of waiting for it and watching this team not just flounder, embarrassingly flounder, look like they have no business being on a major league field while we wait for this change to happen. Make the change now. That's how I feel about it. In the final segment, I'm going to talk through something that Ricky Batalico asked me today and just share my thoughts on it, give you a look in the inside of the mind of someone who covers this team day in and day out as a former major leaguer and knows a lot more baseball than myself. So I'll tell you a nice little Ricky Bo nugget on the other side here as we wrap up today's Locked On Phillies. Spring is in the air, and we're almost even into summer. But this time of year, rather, I should say, is a time of renewal and growth, personally and professionally. As your small business grows, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to, and faster, and even for free. So listen to this. You want to create a free job post in minutes? Go to LinkedIn Jobs, and you can reach a network of 810 million people. That's so many people. There's got to be a candidate in there, or multiple, who fit your needs. You can add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile so people know immediately when they visit your profile your company's hiring. There's simple tools like screening questions. They make it easy to focus on exactly what you're looking for and narrow down the candidates to fit right into that genre, if you will, of potential employees. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So many people are on LinkedIn. You're using the biggest pool out there. So go to LinkedIn Jobs. They'll help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Well, you post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's right. You're getting it free just for listening to this podcast. And that's linkedin.com/MLB. You post your job for free. You can find your new employee today. Terms and conditions do apply. Okay, so this is focusing on Bryce Harper a little bit. I know I said Ricky Metallico. I'll explain in a second, but there was a conversation going on between John Kincaid, who hosts our morning show over on 97.5, Ricky Metallico, who comes in every Thursday, spends 9 a.m. or a little bit before 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. with us, and yours truly and a couple other people milling around talking about Bryce Harper's aggressive base running, getting thrown out at second by a mile last night and trying to do too much. And they were debating why that is, and the guys were basically agreeing on a point that it seems like he's trying to do too much because he's worried about the success of his team. He feels like it's all on him because he's not getting enough help either from other players or the manager. And you have a situation like what happens on Tuesday where he hits a heroic go-ahead home run and the team doesn't even record an out before the Braves walk it off in the bottom of the ninth. That drives you to a point where it's like, okay, I'm already doing too much and I got to do more. And it starts making him make mistakes. I've seen this before. I call it the hero complex. In sports, sometimes on bad teams, you feel like you have to be a hero. And what that does, heroes occur naturally. It's the old heroic, like superhero movie trope, where the guy who's the great hero, and you think Captain America, like he didn't really want to be a hero. He just wanted to do his job. He just wanted to serve. That's basically what it is. I don't mean that as a perfect example, but it's like when you start forcing your way into heroics, that's when you start pressing too much. That's when you create issues for your team. And this happens on bad teams. Good teams, you don't have to try and be a hero. You don't have to try and do too much because everyone holds their end of the bargain up. But when you feel that heroics are needed, it presses you into trying to do too much. That's what I call the hero complex. And Bryce Harper has it hugely right now when it comes to the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, is it wrong that he feels that way? I don't think so, because you look at this team and he is their guy, and he's the guy that's been willing them and carrying them for the 3 years he's been here to try and get to the point where it's just playoffs and meaningful baseball, and just can't seem to do it. And I'm sure it's driving him crazy right now. You saw how mad he was, yelling at himself, probably yelling profanities at himself when he got thrown out at second. But I can't ask him to stop it, really, but it's just the natural thing that happens when a team is pressing, and it doesn't just have to be him. Other guys, like Bryce Harper, is a hero, but the other part of it is guys who are not remotely at that skill level think that they have to try to be. Bryce Harper's another thing. He's at that skill level. Sometimes he just tries to do too much, but then lower guys try to act like they're the Bryce Harper and do what he can do, and mentally it can wear on them. Think about JT Realmuto and the slump that he was in earlier this year. Almost like he's trying to do too much from a spot as a catcher that isn't supposed to be relied upon so much offensively, but he feels the pressure of an offensive-minded team underperforming and thinks, I have to step up. Like, everyone just has to do their darn job and stop trying to press so much. But it also takes a manager who's not putting the team, not pulling away opportunities to win from the team. So it's a combination of everything. But I'm not faulting Bryce Harper for his aggressiveness on the base pass. That's who he is. And even though it's coming out more now because the team needs it more and it's not being successful because he's pressing too hard, I can't take that away from him because I can't take his aggressiveness away. That would be a bad move. So at this point, you're just going to have to live with it. But the best way to solve the problem, put Bryce Harper in a situation where he doesn't feel the need to do that and he can play within himself. Because right now, I can't blame him for trying to be a hero. This team needs more than just a hero. Right now, this team needs a miracle to get back on track. And we're getting deeper into the season. We may be running out of time to do so early. That's all I've got on the Philadelphia Phillies today. Hopefully they give us something fun to talk about tonight and split the series with the Braves at least. Got a game tonight against the Braves that I haven't even previewed because I can't bring myself to look at another Phillies lineup and pitching matchup and everything that I don't have faith in anymore after what this team has done so far this year. But Aaron Nola goes, who has been good this year despite only being 1-4. Maybe he can pull it off against Kyle Wright, a right-handed pitcher. The Phillies have lefties better than righties, so another tough mound matchup for them. But we'll see. I'll talk about all of it. We'll break it down on our Friday show tomorrow as we head into Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully good things to talk about. But that's all I've got for you on today's Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you as always for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. Now make Locked On MLB your next listen. Paul Francis Sullivan, Sully, he's doing crossovers. He's checking in with hosts around Major League Baseball, and he's been covering baseball for years. He knows the stories of the game, the history of it. He knows it all. He's a great listen, and it's available wherever you get your podcast. So go check out Sully on Locked On MLB. That's all the time I've got for you guys today. I will talk to you all tomorrow.